So what are you planning to do next? Are there projects that you're still yearning to work on? Stories you want to tell? Are you looking at anything beyond middle grade? Are you going to stay very middle grade focused?
Yeah, I'm going to continue middle grade focus because, like I said before, that's what I know the best. That's what I feel most comfortable with, and I really don't have a desire to write long books personally. So I do want to. I'm starting to work on a series that's going to be geared towards traditional publishing, and it's a different experience. But I do want to work on that and get that off the ground. And then in the meantime, traditional market generally, they don't want more than one book a year from an author, and my books are short and I can write more than one book a year. So why not? So I do plan to continue writing indie books. And because it is, it is more fun not to have to worry about those extra things and just worry about this is an adventure for you, young reluctant reader, and you're going to really like it. And it was really fun to write, and you're going to have a lot of fun reading it. So I do still enjoy writing those, and I do plan on continuing writing those and keeping a mix of both things right now.
Do you keep to a regular writing schedule? Do you have a daily word count goal? How do you decide what's a successful writing week or writing month?
Yeah, I do. So like I really like having written something, but I don't generally, like 80% of the mornings, I don't enjoy the act of writing it. It's just, I don't know. It just feels like pushing a boulder up a hill, and it's tough for me a lot of days to do it. So I have to make myself do it. I have an app that turns off the internet and on the computer, on the phone, and it is ironclad, and I can't get back on for 2 hours. And so my goal is to have that on for 2 hours every morning. And and sometimes it depends on what stage of writing I am, but it might be to write, I might try to write 1,000 words during that time, or if I'm writing real fast, 2,000 words. But it's just having those 2 hours every morning to do that. And so, I'll do things to make myself do that. If I don't turn that app on or schedule it as soon as I wake up, sometimes you start doing stuff, getting stuff, I'm working on Amazon. So it feels like I'm working, but I'm really just kind of putting off writing. And so I have a calendar where I right next to my desk where I mark down, I color in each day. And if I got to 2 hours, it's a full page, the full block is colored, and I write 2 hours. And so that keeps me on track and motivated and things like that. And some days I do, some days I don't. And then, once a week I'll go to the library and write, put in an extra 4 or 5 hours at the library every day. But, for me, that seems to work for me to get me to write like that. So, and then if I'm editing, that's a little bit easier to kind of get into, especially if it's a later stage of editing. So that one I don't mind working on in the afternoon and things like that. But generally, if I don't write in the morning, it's not going to happen.
That makes sense. And then are you an ardent plotter, or are you write it by the seat of your pants, or somewhere in between?
Somewhere in between, but more pantsing. But at the beginning of the book, I'll in my mind I kind of have the book in 3 acts generally, and it's not following anything in particular. But before I start writing the book, I'll generally have an idea what the end is, and then maybe at the end of Act 1 and at the end of Act 2, and almost always all 3 of those things change along the way, but I'll start working on it and start working towards something. And then basically going by the seat of my pants as I'm writing it. And then in the second draft, connecting everything and making it, the beginning now has to connect to the new end and things like that.
Makes sense. That makes me almost nervous because you're talking 1,000 to 2,000 words when you're really on it, and I'm thinking, my God, if you're only doing 20 to 25 chapters, that's a significant portion of the book. So let me ask the required follow-up. How many drafts are you typically going through? How much time are you spending in revision then?
Yeah, so I'm going to so it depends on the first go through. If I'm really concentrating on it and really working at it, I might I'm working on making that first draft good. So that first draft, it'll alternate between sections that are well written and sections that are just kind of scribbled in. And so if I'm working on a well written section, I might end up writing in those 2 hours 500 words, 700 words. If I'm just scribbling it in, it might be 2,500 words or something like that. So that directly relates to how long it's going to take me in my second draft, how much of that was scribbled in. And so that second draft is really where I go through and make everything good. And so, it's taking those chapters that I worked on really hard in the first draft and maybe making changes here and there, adding things to kind of connect the dots to later in the book and things like that. For chapters that I scribbled in, it's kind of going back and doing the hard work of actually like scrapping everything and writing again. And so that's generally the second draft is by the end of the second draft, the whole book is consistently the same quality, which is good. The third draft is then making it really good. So going through and editing and taking out things that don't belong, simplifying things. A lot of times when I'm writing, I don't use complicated language, but I'll make plot points way too complicated. So I'll take things out and kind of streamline things a little bit, and add some foreshadowing, add some different things, and just really taking a critical look at that third chapter to go from good to really close to great. And then the fourth pass, going through and taking and then doing a lot of proofreading and fixing some problems there. So it's four main drafts, I would say, and then fifth, sixth, seventh is really fine tuning things sometimes. But those four main drafts are the four ways I think about it, and they can take a long time, they can take a short time, but sometimes there's multiple steps within each of those drafts. But that's generally kind of how I work.
And are you ardently that if I'm drafting, don't go back and do any rewriting, or do you do that along the way the first time?
No, I do. I use Scrivener, so I go back and on the little note card for each chapter, I'll write, okay, now we're going to do this in the back. So I remember it, but I don't go back and rewrite it until that second draft.
Makes sense. And Dustin, I could talk your face off all night. And I know I've already done it because I've got so many deeply, deeply nerdy questions for you.
Oh, man.
But I'm not going to do that. I don't want to abuse your time.
Sure.
So let me ask you this one last catch-all question I'd love to ask. And that is, if there was anything you could go back and tell past you, if there's somebody out there who's watching or listening, and there most assuredly is, who says, how can I one day be Dustin Brady? What's the one bit of advice you wish you'd had and that you'd want them to have about writing and about publishing?
Yeah, I would say just do it. For me, I was, there's no reason I couldn't have written my first book 5 years earlier than I did. I just, I always kind of wanted to do it. I just, and it didn't take that long to write it. It was a fairly short book. But I just, didn't. It was just this bear in my head where, I felt like, I have to do more research. I have to learn more. I have to get better. And the only way you're going to get better is by sitting down and writing it. And so I guess my advice to myself when I was younger would be just to sit down and do it. And same thing for people. I think people spend a lot of time, I'm going to take this course and I'm going to, I got to ask these questions that in the end don't really matter. And just sit down and write it and put it out there and learn and then do it again. Makes
sense to me, with the exception that if you're in Indiana near the Indiana Writers Center and you're thinking about taking one of my courses, absolutely take that course. That course. Is vital.
No. Yeah.
But otherwise, just do it. I love it.
Yeah, everybody has to take that course. But once you've taken it.
So, Dustin, where can an esteemed audience find you online? Where can they stalk you?
Yeah, so just go to my website. I don't have an author Facebook page, or don't do much on social media. So go to my website. It has my books. You can email me there, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have or just chat with you a little bit there. So my website is dustinbradybooks.com, or just search Dustin Brady in Google, and you'll find some way to contact me, I'm sure.